Hi, data breach is one of the most common security violations. In this video, we depict the Facebook Cambridge Analytica scandal which created a stir worldwide. The intended audience for this case study are social media users and executives of social networking platforms.
In early 2018, it became public knowledge that information of millions of Facebook users had been harvested by many firms including Cambridge Analytica. Cambridge Analytica is a British-based political consulting firm which was set up in 2014 as a subsidiary of Strategic Communication Limited Group, SGL. It was partly owned by Robert Mercer, an American hedge fund billionaire. Christopher Wiley, who worked with a Cambridge University academic to obtain the data, said, "We exploited Facebook to harvest millions of people's profiles and built models to exploit what we knew about them and target their inner demons. That was the basis the entire company was built on." The dark world of data exploitation is uncovered in The Great Hack through the unpredictable personal journeys of players on different sides of the explosive Cambridge Analytica Facebook data story. Facebook is a great source of gathering personal data as it is such a widely used social media platform. This website not only has the basic contact information that is gathered during the sign-up process that you typically provide for a service or product, but they also have access to personal data. This personal data could contain information on a user's personal life, including who they are friends with, what they like from liked pages or posts, and their personal opinions on many deep or personal subjects. How Facebook gathers information on the latter is from personal quizzes, games, and tests that are presented as a fun game or source of entertainment. In reality, of these quizzes and tests are a source of data mining. This same thing happened in 2015 when personality survey posted on Facebook where 270,000 users have participated. It was based on 5 personality traits known as the Big Five. These are openness, how open you are to new experiences; conscientiousness, how much of a perfectionist are you; extroversion, how sociable are you; agreeableness, how considerate and cooperative you are; and neuroticism, are you easily upset. An academic of Cambridge University, Alexander Kogan, and built an app called This Is Your Digital Life in Facebook to obtain the data. The users of the app performed a personality test, which they consented to be collected for academic purposes, but the app would also collect the data of users' Facebook friends. Cambridge Analytica used this personal harvested data to look at what people's likes, opinions, or values were to leverage the Republican Party. Cambridge Analytica used analysis tools and AI to create extremely accurate profiles on people, with over 5,000 data points on each voter. This truly highlights how valuable data can be, and since many people have shared this data on their personal lives in some form online, it was easy for them to gather for the propaganda. The personality quiz results were then paired with their Facebook data such as likes to seek out psychological patterns. In order to be entitled for the personality test, the user had to have a Facebook account and be a U.S. voter so that tens of millions of the profiles could be matched to electoral rolls. From an initial trial of 1,000 test takers, the researchers collected 160,000 profiles, or about 160 per person. Within a matter of months, Kogan and Cambridge Analytica had a database of millions of U.S. voters which had its own algorithm to scan them, identifying possible political beliefs and personality characteristics. They could then decide who to target and craft their messages in a way that would possibly attract individuals and influence their actions or thoughts, also known as micro-targeting. The paid test takers had agreed to share their data, and Facebook's default terms allowed their friends' data to be collected by an app, unless they had changed their privacy settings. But none of them had agreed to sell their data to firms such as Cambridge Analytica that turned their data into a lucrative political tool.
Ted Cruz's presidential campaign was using psychological data based on research spanning tens of millions of Facebook users, harvested largely without their permission, to boost his surging White House run and gain an edge over Donald Trump and other Republican rivals. A little-known data company, now embedded within Cruz's campaign and indirectly financed by his primary billionaire benefactor, paid researchers at Cambridge University to gather detailed psychological profiles about the U.S. electorate using a massive pool of mainly unwitting U.S. Facebook users built with an online survey. In the race to advance data-driven electioneering strategies pioneered by successive Obama campaigns, Cruz turned to Cambridge Analytica for its unparalleled offering of psychological data based on a treasure trove of Facebook likes, allowing it to match individuals' traits with existing voter datasets, such as who owned a gun. Analysis of Federal Election Commission (FEC) filings shows Cruz's campaign had paid Cambridge Analytica at least $750,000. The behavioral microtargeting company also received around $2.5 million from conservative super PACs. The Trump campaign hired Cambridge Analytica to run data operations during the 2016 election. Steve Bannon, who eventually became Trump's chief strategist, was also reportedly vice president of Cambridge Analytica's board. The company helped the campaign identify voters to target with ads, and gave advice on how best to focus its approach, such as where to make campaign stops. It also helped with strategic communication, like what to say in speeches. The collected data was specifically used by Make America #1 Super PAC to attack Clinton through constructed advertisements that attempted to highlight the corruption of Clinton as a way of propping up Trump as a better candidate for the presidency.
Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg first apologized for the situation with Cambridge Analytica on CNN, calling it an issue, a mistake, and a breach of trust. In April 2018, Facebook decided to implement the EU's General Data Protection Regulation in all areas of operation and not just the EU, and established Social Science 1 as a response to the event. United Kingdom's Information Commissioner's Office fined Facebook £500,000, $663,000 over the data breach, this being the maximum fine allowed at the time of the breach. In March 2019, a court filing by the U.S. Attorney General for the District of Columbia alleged that Facebook knew of Cambridge Analytica's improper data gathering practices months before they were first publicly reported in December 2015. In July 2019, the Federal Trade Commission voted to approve fining Facebook around $5 billion to finally settle the investigation into the data breach. The record-breaking settlement was one of the largest penalties ever assessed by the U.S. government for any violation.
Since April 2018, the first full month since the breaking of the Cambridge Analytica data breach, the number of likes, posts and shares on the site had decreased by almost 20%, and has decreased ever since, with the aforementioned activity only momentarily increasing during the summer and during the 2018 U.S. midterm elections. On March 26, 2018, a little after a week after the story was initially published, Facebook stock fell by about 24%, equivalent to $134 billion. The public reacted to the data privacy breach by initiating the campaign #DeleteFacebook with the aim of starting a movement to boycott Facebook. The co-founder of WhatsApp, which is owned by Facebook, joined in on the movement by declaring it was time to delete the platform. The hashtag was tweeted almost 400,000 times on Twitter within a 30-day period after news of the data breach. 93% of the mentions of the hashtag actually appeared on Twitter, making it the main social media platform used to share the hashtag. An additional campaign and hashtag, #OwnYourData, was coined by Brittany Kaiser. The hashtag was created by Kaiser as a Facebook campaign that pushed for increased transparency on the platform. Own Your Data was also used in Kaiser's petition for Facebook to alter their policies and give users increased power and control over their data, which she refers to as users' assets and property.
The response after the breach from Facebook is very late, which created a panic among the registered users. Facebook didn't prioritize data security while sharing data with the third-party applications. Facebook CEO apologized without giving much explanation about the scandal and the data breach. The Facebook CEO apologized for the situation with the Cambridge Analytica on CNN, calling it an issue and a breach of trust, while other Facebook officials argued against calling it a data breach, arguing those who took the personality quiz originally consented to give away their information and pushed the responsibility to the users. Zuckerberg wrote, "We have a responsibility to protect our data, and if we can't, then we don't deserve to serve you." Due to the scandal and data breach, the company lost trust of the existing users. Trust being one of the important factors between the relationship among the company and its users was certainly affected. Many users started looking for other social networking apps to ditch Facebook. Lots of efforts were made, including apologizing publicly, making changes to the policies to regain trust from the users, but that went in vain as Facebook reacted late on the data breach and many officials from Facebook vaguely put the responsibility on the users. Trust, once broken, is hard to earn back. A survey was conducted online on basis of trust among various social media platforms and various technology companies. The outcome of the survey came out to be that very few trusted Facebook compared to other tech companies. There were some strategic moves taken by Facebook to cover up the Facebook Cambridge Analytica scandal. Facebook made changes to the policies about sharing data with the third-party apps after making a thorough investigation on the third-party apps. New tools have been added on the top of users' news feed that enables users to see which applications they have used and to revoke third-party applications' data access. Restrictions were placed for developers' access to data, such as removing the data if a user has not used the application in 3 months. Facebook also expanded its bug bounty program to reward those who find misuses of data by third-party application developers, as well as notify users if third-party applications misused their data. Facebook conducted a full audit of applications with suspicious activity and banned developers that had misused personally identifiable information. Now we will be looking at preventing next crisis. Companies should understand the complexity of working with consumer data. Data, being the new oil, is very vulnerable to which can be used for changing political and demographical outcomes and even target people based on their choices. Steps have to be taken to protect the data by having strict policies, strong infrastructure, and a good cybersecurity team. A governance structure has to be established to keep a check on and to protect data from criminal activities around. Lack of communication between Facebook and its users has paid a heavy price on losing the trust of its users. Therefore, communication has to be improved between companies and its users. Facebook harvests and shares metadata, and all the users should always be aware of what they are sharing, posting, and providing consent to, because they are as vulnerable as the consumers to data exposure. There are many data breaches happening everywhere, and data is never safe and is always vulnerable. Users should self-examine before sharing any data on social media platforms. The stakes and outcomes from the data breach can be higher for businesses and employees. Data breach can expose the company's liabilities, which will affect the company in terms of business loss. Intellectual properties of the companies can be stolen, which may lead to the downfall of the company. There can also be extortion attempts on the company's data. Cyber criminals often ask for a huge amount of money during an extortion attempt, and still the company may not be safe from extortion again. Nevertheless, how many ever changes or updates are done to specific applications, the user of that particular platform should be aware of what kind of personal data and what kind of applications she should grant permissions to. Alongside keeping a check, that is by reviewing the account activity, revoking the access of illicit applications, and checking its settings at regular time intervals, are important to keep their data safe, and being aware of the consequences the breach can impact on them.